Here we go. So if you take a look there, 70 years of economic development and policy in the People's Republic of China. Okay, so this obviously takes us to 2019. So just to recap, if you're not familiar, Mao Zedong, 1949. On this red side here, you've got economic growth. Okay, so that's per capita, I believe. Yes, per capita GDP. Okay, and then you've got certain events, economy in blue, and government is red, social is yellow. Okay, so yeah, founded in 1949. Obviously, you have things like the Great Leap, first 5-year plans, where steel production went up, various conferences and whatnot. Then you obviously have the Cultural Revolution in 1966 up to 76. I just want to make one note here is that even obviously the data doesn't have to the data is not here for 1949, but even here you're seeing constant economic growth. Obviously there are some years 61 where there's a drop, but you can still see, and 67, 69, but if you take the general trend, it was always going up and up and up, and yeah, in the 70s here, and of course then it does increase quite a lot. But I think the real takeoff point is obviously 2001. That's where you see a real huge jump. But bear in mind, this is per capita. So I do have another statistic we can look at later, but the actual GDP overall is actually quite high. There's some instances where it's 20%, 15% around here in this in the 60s and in the 70s. And then, of course, after 78, that's the point that everyone always likes to reference being the real economic boom. But you can still see economic growth here. And I just want to mention another thing is this is a statistic from, it's talking about life from PubMed, which is an American website, I believe. And they're talking about life expectancy in China. It was 36. So life expectancy here was 36 years old. And now life expectancy actually, which I'll get up in a moment, has overtaken the US. So Chinese life expectancy is now higher than American life expectancy because of COVID and other factors, but primarily because of COVID right now. So there's a little statistic there. So, and just so you recap on who's who, there's Mao, then you have Deng Xiaoping, then you have Jiang Zemin, then you have Hu Jintao, and then you have Xi Jinping. So who is the guy that was, taken out of the conference because of, I believe, medical reasons, Alzheimer's and whatnot. But this guy here, Jiang Zemin, is also still alive, but he's 96. He's pretty frail. I think we last saw him in 2019 at an event. So he's.
So this is the. It would have been presiding over. His contribution would have been the Three Represents. Obviously, under him, China got Hong Kong back. Did it get Macau? No, Macau was afterwards, wasn't it?
No. It's still Macau. Yeah, Macau's him. 99 Macau. Yeah, so he hands over in 2002 to Hu Jintao, and so he did Hong Kong and Macau, and then obviously he carried on. He's seen as very market friendly, and he pushed. So there's also some confusing bits here. So even though Deng Xiaoping hands over in 1989 to Jiang Zemin, you have the famous speech where Deng Xiaoping's southern tour. So in 1992, Deng Xiaoping goes to Shenzhen, and he makes a famous speech about opening up, the need to open up and accelerate the reform process and whatnot. And he's obviously saying that while Jiang Zemin is actually the head. So that just shows you some peculiarity about Chinese leadership, or the CPC's leadership, is that you can have a prominent person, a former leader, have some influence and sway over where the things go, even though they don't hold the general secretary or the chairman position at the time.
So in a contrast with that to sort of American politics, or even British politics, where one leader can come in and be the opposite of the previous one, undo the previous administration's policies, like where Trump came in and his whole platform was, I'm going to get rid of everything that Obama did. And then obviously Biden's the complete opposite of that. I'm going to come in and get rid of everything that Trump did on paper. And it just sort of seems like a vicious cycle of, are we actually getting anywhere if every 4 years is just dedicated to undoing the last 4 years, where Chinese leadership, a lot of it is about showing continuality and growth.